this weather's been crazy. I don't know if we're going to make it.
No kidding. Polar vortexes, climate change, extreme weather, they're all playing havoc on the ecosystems and species that live here.
Yeah, like us. If you think about our past ice ages, climate extremes have impacted every species to share Mother Earth for millions of years.
And even with our modern technology, us humans remain connected with the web of life.
So how do all the things that live here survive in these extreme conditions?
It's all about extreme survival strategies that we'll be investigating as we head further into the outdoors.
The outdoors. Grab your gear and let's explore as we discover the wild outdoors. Science, discovery, it's what we do. Into the outdoors, now what you waiting for? Into the outdoors, it's fun when we explore. Science, discovery, it's way too cool. You can make our Earth a bright and better place by joining us in this wide open space. Into the outdoors.
With over 5 feet of snow and the ground and water frozen 5 feet down, it's hard to believe anything could be alive out there.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that the web of life here will soon go through a unique transformation, turning this frozen landscape into an ecosystem teeming with life.
One secret is a primary producer in the food web that supports both wildlife and humans, and the other is a group of North America's winged wonders. Oh yeah, this is a lot better than all that frozen snow and ice. And all those guys over there?
They avoided being frozen during the long winters without adequate food by using their wings and their built-in navigation systems for their survival strategy of long-distance migration. Each fall, millions of waterfowl like these take flight to the skies and travel hundreds, even thousands of miles so they can spend winters in warmer climates and environments.
All that flying may sound far, but waterfowl like those ducks make short work of it.
They're able to fly over 50 miles per hour, and with the right wind, have been known to fly 800 miles during a single 8-hour flight. They burn lots of energy making that kind of a journey and need up to a week of resting and feeding to replenish their reserves. So what environmental factors do they need to recharge their bodies like that?
One factor is a watery refuge to help them avoid most predators. The other part is a primary producer in the food web here that has been vital to waterfowl and humans for thousands of years.
Why do they call it wild rice?
Well, wild rice grows here in the wild, in this lake and in these marshes out in the wild.
Well, what's the role of wild rice in the food web?
Wild rice is very important. Like, look at all these ducks here. These ducks are eating the green shoots, and then in the fall, when they're getting ready to migrate south, they're gonna stop here and they're gonna eat a lot of this grain. This rice is so nutritious, not only to ducks, but also to people. There might be some people out here soon that will be knocking the wild rice to harvest it and process it so that way they can have it all year long.
It's hard to believe that the winged wonders can simply abandon the harsh winters here each year by taking flight every fall. Scientists have discovered that they use landmarks, the Earth's magnetic field, and even an optical solar compass at night to help them navigate during migrations.
I'd be a goner. I need the GPS on my smartphone just to keep from getting lost out here. Suppose we were Native Americans that lived here for thousands of years. I wonder what it would be like trying to survive here in the dead of winter with little to eat. Oh, can you imagine that?
Careful what you wish for. Winter survival transformation coming online now. Oh my, that looks brutal.
I'm freezing. I don't know if we can survive like this much longer.
Me either. And we've only been out here for an hour. How in the world did the Native Americans survive in these conditions?
We need answers. And rescue. Mission Control, come in.
Hang in there, you guys, while I bring the historic archives online. Here they come now. Oh, so that's how they did it. The Lac du Flambeau band of the Lake Superior Chippewa Indian survived here for hundreds of years, using both regional navigation and local migration as part of their subsistence lifestyle. Seasonally, it begins with the first signs of spring, when the maple trees start producing sweet sap that the tribe would harvest and boil down into maple sugar. The tribe acquired the name Lac du Flambeau from early French traders who saw their practice of harvesting fish at night by torchlight and described it as the Lake of Torches. When fishing by torchlight ended, the tribe moved to the marshes in early fall to harvest wild rice, one of the valuable food sources in their diet. Gathering wild rice is a tradition and heritage that's still practiced today. Fall was also a time to harvest migrating waterfowl and deer as the tribe migrated between the most available and seasonal changing food sources within the region. Gathering fruits, acorns, other wild nuts, and ice fishing helped supplement their diet that would carry them through the harsh winter. To learn more about the science of extreme survival strategies, log on to intotheoutdoors.org.
So how do animals survive that are stuck out here? Like me. Find out when we return. I hope.
Don't go away, there's more Into the Outdoors.
And now back into the outdoors.
Oh, shh. Something's sleeping down there, and we sure don't want to wake them.
So how do species that can't migrate to warmer climates or available food survive without any food at all for up to 6 months without freezing?
What's down there knows the secret. If you're not a migrator, then maybe you're one of nature's most amazing animals. Hibernators.
Josh, you're not supposed to run from a bear. It might cause it to chase after you. Why do you think that bears hibernate in dens underground or in hollow logs? It's too cold for them outdoors? Black bears stand out too much on white snow? They get fat and lazy from eating too much in the fall? It's their survival strategy for enduring the winter months when no food is available? You're right. No food outdoors means no sense wasting your time and energy trying to find any. Their solution? Hibernation. Some animals, like chipmunks, survive their winter by stashing food supplies in their dens. They fall into a deep sleep called torpor and only wake up when they need to eat and to go to the bathroom. Their body temperature also drops just enough to keep them alive. Scientists call them true hibernators. Bears, on the other hand, are called super hibernators. Here's why. Black bears don't stash food supplies, and they don't enter a deep sleep state of torpor. They can easily wake up. Also, their core body temperature stays about their normal 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, here's the cool part. During those long months of hibernation, they don't drink, eat, defecate, or urinate. Try doing that for a day, let alone 6 months. What's their secret? It's fat. To prepare for hibernation, bears gorge on food in the fall. This massive eating is called hyperplasia and builds their reserves of brown and white fat. White fat insulates the body and is metabolized to fuel their body. Bears convert chemical energy in their brown fat into heat to keep them warm. While hibernating, black bears recycle the nitrogen in their urine to build new proteins. Black bears can lose up to 45% of their body weight during hibernation, mostly from fat. Hang on, you guys. Our sensors are detecting something else hibernating under all that snow. It's small in size, but huge in the way it affects our ecosystem. It's the bumblebee. They're an important species of pollinators that help pollinate many trees and plants. Without them, many fruit and vegetable plants wouldn't produce. And without fruits and vegetables, important parts of the food web would suffer, including us humans.
Gosh, who would think something that small would have such a huge impact on primary producers on the food web? Are you sure this bumblebee hibernates just like a bear? I think we need some expert advice.
Well, Jacob, you're right. Bumblebees do hibernate just like a bear.
Wait, how do they hibernate? Wouldn't they freeze?
So a bumblebee finds a place in the ground, like a hole in the ground where they spend the winter, and there are two ways that they survive the winter. One is that they slow down their metabolism, so they're not active, they're not moving around, so they don't need a lot of energy. And the other way is bumblebees have a thing that's like antifreeze in their body. So if it starts to get really cold, this antifreeze builds up in their body. It prevents them from freezing.
Why are all these bumblebees so big?
So all of the bumblebees you see right now are actually queens. The queens are the only bumblebees you see this time of year because they're the only ones that survive the winter. So the bumblebee queens emerged from their hibernation, and now they're trying to find flower resources to get their energy back up, and then they'll start making a new nest for this year's colony.
What about the rest?
So all of the worker bumblebees and last year's queen died at the end of last summer. Well, most people think these bees are just these tiny little insects, but really they're really important for humans and wildlife. 1 in every 3 bites that you take is dependent on bee pollinators. So apple is one of the crops, one of the plants that requires insect pollination. And so the bee will visit this flower, pick up some pollen, and then go to another flower.
We don't often think about survival strategies of bees, but I bet the next time you see a snowy landscape, you think about all those bees hibernating under all that snow.
This hibernation business isn't as easy as it sounds. To learn more about hibernation, just log on to intotheoutdoors.org.
Coming up, more cool survival strategies. Don't go away, there's more Into the Outdoors.
And now back into the outdoors.
So how do you survive down there if you're not a migrator or a hibernator? Now that's a challenge. And the secret lies right under the ice here. It's another one of nature's unique survival strategies: seasonal adapters.
Hear that? Now they're awake. Kinda makes you wonder how those amphibians survive all winter long. Looks like we need some expert help. They're alive now, but how do they survive in the winter?
Well, frogs have basically 2 different strategies. Water frogs like leopard frogs, green frogs, bullfrogs spend the winter on the bottom of a pond on top of the mud. And frogs that live in the woods, like tree frogs, go underneath the leaf litter on the forest floor.
Wait, I thought all frogs lived in the water.
Well, actually, most of our frogs are only in the water for a few days each spring, and that is to lay their eggs, and they leave the water, leave the eggs and tadpoles behind, and they go up into their upland feeding areas for the summer. Look. Whoa!
What kind of frog is this?
This is a green frog. And these frogs are maybe our most common frog in the Midwest, and people often mistake them for bullfrogs. The green frog is smaller than the bullfrog, and its call is a lot different. You hear this boom, boom, boom,
Yeah, I've heard that.
and that's a green frog.
Oh, that one to wonder. Oh, look, I see some more over there. This one's got spots. Almost like a leopard.
Lily, this is a leopard frog, and it uses the spots for camouflage, breaks up their color pattern, and they spend the winter in permanent bodies of water like rivers and ponds, and then they have to move, usually a short distance, a couple hundred yards, to cattail marshes, and there they call and the female lays her eggs.
That's the science behind amphibian survival.
Back to you at Mission Control.
You had a plan all along, didn't you, buddy? Yes, I did. Ugh, bug breath. Now we're making progress on decoding all these extreme survival strategies. Let's see. So far we've got migrators, hibernators, and seasonal adapters. Oh, look. Here's something else trying to adapt.
Yuck. It makes you wonder how you could survive out here as an adapter during these extreme conditions and without modern technology to help you. Let's go to Mission Control and dial back the time machine to find out. Hello? Mission Control?
Thanks, Josh. Dialing back the time machine now.
What that means is, it means they are very intelligent, they are very skillful. We have a people that understood that half of the year here is snow and cold. So as a result of that, 6 months of the year were spent in preparing for that time. Early spring, we were in what we call Iskigam. It was called the sugar bush. We didn't make syrup long ago. We only made sugar. And we would move forward to where the lakes opened. We got back into our canoes at that time, and that's when we began to spear fish. Walleye, mashkanu, muskie. And we ate those fish and we ate the eggs. And when the fireflies returned in the summer, that's when we started to hunt the deer again, white-tailed deer. So we lived off fish and venison and berries during the summer months. Late August, early September, we go to the wild rice fields, the wild rice bed, and our wild rice has been taking its time all year to stand up for us, and it's standing up and it's moving from the flower stage to a ripening. So we call Gijigin Manuman. One of our primary resources still yet today. From our rice fields, then we got into full-blown Nandu Shibe Yang. We hunt waterfowl as the waterfowl begin to move out of the region. As it gets a little colder, then we go to the Wabashkiking in the swamps, and we call that Mashkigamin cranberries, harvest cranberries off the bogs. We start hunting whitetail pretty heavy at that time.
Coming up, a nocturnal predator whose eyes glow in the dark.
Don't go away. There's more Into the Outdoors. And now back into the outdoors.
Finally, this frozen landscape is starting to thaw. But it's been a long, bitter winter with spring arriving later than normal.
Now, you might think, oh well, better late than never, right?
But it's not that simple. If the future population of your species hinges on water temperature matching the critical timing with part of your life cycle.
Yeah, as you're about to discover, the abiotic factors of the ecosystem, such as prolonged cold weather, can sometimes upset the life cycle of the biotic things that live here. Important aquatic species.
One of those important species is walleye, and that's what they're going to be catching out there today.
The spawning crew is coming right now. We're going to be netting the walleye and muskie, and what we're going to be doing is spawning them. In other words, we're going to be collecting the eggs from the females and the milk from the males, and we'll be fertilizing those eggs. And once those eggs are fertilized, we'll bring them over to the hatchery.
Time out. Why do you have to mess with these fish? I'm pretty sure they can spawn by themselves.
Okay, we capture the fish to spawn them in order to raise walleye fingerlings to stock other reservation waters. And we will raise fish up to 2 inches, up to 3 inches, up to 4 inches. As the size increases in the terms of the fish that we stock, you know, their survival is a little bit greater. So we're helping out Mother Earth.
Now we're going to check our first net. I hope we got some spawners in this one.
Right now, they're just picking out the female spawning walleyes and throwing back the suckers. We got some walleye now. This is what I call fishing.
We're picking out the walleyes that are spawning, and we're putting them in a holding tank until we can spawn them.
I wonder if they'll let us take one home for dinner.
I can hear you back there. They could have up to a couple thousand. It just depends on the size. See this female, she's already spawned out.
I wish I could catch one that big.
This is the Lac du Flambeau tribal fish hatchery. So we'll bring the eggs back up in here, and the eggs have to what we call water harden. Now, keeping in mind these are fertilized eggs, so what we'll do is they'll go ahead and take those eggs and put them into what we call the McDonald jars. All right, and then what will happen is you can see the water is coming from the top and going down into the McDonald jar, and within about 10 days, the eggs will hatch. And they come out as fry. So we have unfertilized eggs, we have fertilized eggs, and then we hatch them and they become fry. And those fry are about the size of a mosquito. They're a very small fish. And what will happen is when they start hatching, they will come up into that McDonald jar and then come up into this tank.
Okay, so what's their survival strategy?
Well, the whole idea of spring spawning season for walleye and muskie, for example, is part of their survival strategy. When fish spawn, it doesn't really matter if it's walleye or muskie, there's two things that really come into play. One is temperature of the water. Like for walleye, you have to have around 42 degrees Fahrenheit in order for the walleye to spawn. And then there's a thing called photoperiod. Photoperiod is the amount of light and dark in a particular day. So water temperature and photoperiod sort of have to match. And a lot of times when we have an extreme winter like we had this year, you know, the lakes stayed closed. In other words, there was a lot of ice on the lakes for a while. And that has an impact on the fish's ability to spawn because, you know, ice on the lakes, there's not a real good photoperiod, the water temperature's a little cold. So it really messes them up a little bit.
As you've seen, every species in the ecosystem, from humans to bumblebees, each have their own unique set of survival strategies.
And although many species can survive extremes in climate change on their own,
many depend on us to do what's right so they have a healthy environment to live their life cycles. Into the outdoors!
We discovered the wild outdoors.